Amid calls to ban halal meat in Karnataka, the state chief minister Basavaraj Bommai said that the government would seriously look into the issue because many have raised it. The Congress has said that the BJP is trying to make Karnataka Uttar Pradesh ahead of the polls next year. Kiran Majumdar-Shaw put out a tweet saying growing religious divide in the state should be resolved. And now BJP's Amit Malviya has actually hit out at Kiran Majumdar-Shaw, calling it a politically coloured opinion. So a huge controversy there brewing in Karnataka over the halal meat. Let's just listen in to first what the Karnataka Chief Minister had to say and then to the Congress's reaction.
See, it is just now started. We have to study in entirety because there is nothing to do with some rules or nothing that. So it is a practice which was going on. Now serious objections have been raised regarding that. See, ಯಾರು ಎಲ್ಲ ಸಂಘಟನೆಗಳು ಹಲವಾರು ಅಭಿಯಾನಗಳು ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ ಇರ್ತವೆ. So we know what to respond and what to not respond.
The BJP has lost the plot in Karnataka and they want to make this a UP. And more importantly, I think they have no issues to take to people. So they are bringing up issues like Kashmir files, bringing up ban on economic activities of with minorities, and now it's a question of halal meat. I don't see the point in all these things when we are already reeling under the economic distress, and they are out to make Karnataka a very progressive state into UP. So this is just an election tactic. I'm sure that they have more ammunition like this in their stock as the elections are approaching.
All right, well, joining us on NDTV, we have Brijesh Kalappa, spokesperson of the Congress. Also joining us is Mr. Prakash S., spokesperson of the BJP in Karnataka. Brijesh Kalappa, to you first. What are you making of this halal meat controversy? The Chief Minister has said that there are a lot of people raising serious objections and therefore the government's going to look into it.
See, not just the halal meat controversy, but in the past, the hijab controversy, then the Harsha controversy, every single controversy has been to stoke these communal passions in order for the BJP to come to power. But they must remember that in 2018 also, BJP had a similar ploy. At that time also they raised several of these communal issues. But every time BJP raises a communal issue in Karnataka, they lose the election. You must remember that both in 2008 and in 2018, when they contested in 2019, they actually assumed office. And they have never come to power on their own, and it's only for this reason that Karnataka rejects communalism. And despite knowing this, they continue to raise these communal issues in the hope that, people may have changed. People have not changed. People have voted for the MPs. There are 25 MPs of BJP because at that time, there were no communal issues. It was purely at that time a developmental agenda.
Okay.
Today, people realize that the development agenda nothing has progressed insofar as the development agenda is concerned. These 25 MPs have been mute spectators to the fact that the central government has not even given its due GST funds, has not given justice in Kaveri, has not done justice on any issue concerning the center. So this reason, BJP is now trying to sidetrack and change the subject.
You've raised a whole host of important points, and let me get the BJP spokesperson to respond to that. Mr. Prakash, respond to what Brijesh Kalappa is saying. He's saying that because no work has been done, now these are essentially diversionary tactics to stoke communal sentiments in the state ahead of next year's election.
No, in every time when an issue crops up, the Congress party standard reaction is it is a diversionary tactic. And BJP has not done any work, so they are going to lose the election. We have been listening to this from the past several years. But however, now not a single election, Congress party has not won. It is the BJP is winning the election after election. But still, Mr. Brijesh Kalappa is in denial mode, saying that we lose the election and they are winning the election. So it is not. We do not have any communal agenda. Whatever the controversies have come up in Karnataka, it is because of BJP. It is several individual organizations and SDPI, Campus Front of India are responsible for it. As a responsible political party,
Mr. Prakash, let me also draw your attention to what corporate India is saying. Kiran Majumdar-Shaw tweeted to say that Karnataka has always forged inclusive economic development. Therefore, these growing religious divisions need to be resolved as it would destroy the global leadership. I mean, this is the reaction that is coming in from corporate India. She, of course, further was attacked by Amit Malviya of the BJP, calling her opinion politically coloured. What do you make of what she said?
No, she is extremely reacting to a situation which she is not even aware of what is the issue here. And why bringing in the global investment, IT, BT sector, it is just like intimidating tactics employed. First, let her understand what the issue about what is happening, halal or whatever the zakat issue is cropping up in Karnataka. Then it is better she react to it. Let her not bring globe into this.
Sir, are you not worried that you've got such a sharp reaction from such a big name in corporate India talking about how this could actually hurt the interest of the IT hub?
Why we should be rattled? She is one of the industrialists in Karnataka. She has got her own opinion. She is free to express it. And if it is acceptable to us,
how do you respond, Mr. Prakash, to the allegation of the growing religious divide in Karnataka? How do you respond to the allegation that this is all being done in a bid to polarize ahead of the election? There are some very serious charges that are being made against your government, sir.
Elections are one year, more than a year away. Let us not bring election into it. Even during the UP election, similar comments were made. What happened in the election, UP election, everybody knows. She has got every right to express her opinion. If any correction is required, definitely the government will look into it. But it does not mean whatever she says is the ultimate, that is the truth.
No, nobody is saying what she says is the ultimate. But when somebody like this raises a question on how this impacts the IT hub of the country, I think the government ought to take note. I have to though say that she has later tweeted to say that she has full faith in the Chief Minister, in the progressive leadership of the Chief Minister. So let's put that in context as well. But let me bring back Brijesh Kallappa into the conversation. Brijesh Kallappa, very important tweet put out by Kiran Majumdar Shaw. Of course, very sharp reaction from Amit Malviya after that. How do you respond to what she said?
See, insofar as the GDP is concerned, everybody is concerned about the GDP. And even before COVID came, we realized that the GDP was down to 4.5%. Now, we also realized that these may have been on account of demonetization, on account of GST and so on and so forth. As it is, you see, we are suffering on the business fronts. On all business fronts, we are suffering. Now, here is a scenario where the Chief Minister of Karnataka must lead from the front and say that, look, let's give business a chance. Now, if you're going to divide the state down the line from man to man and say that, look, so-and-so is Muslim, Hindu, Christian, so on and so forth, we are not going to see economic progress. The only reason we saw economic progress during the Congress regime was because everybody respected each other. But here the point is that each time where something happens, the BJP is trying to pull down a certain community. So obviously it means that not everybody contributes and makes his full contribution to the national role, which is of uplifting the Indian economy and making life better for all Indians. So I think if the BJP is always going to take a stand that they are going to only progress with some 30% or whatever their voters are, and the remaining people they are not going to take into account, I think the country will suffer, the state will suffer. As it is, we have suffered huge economic crisis.
Okay.
So we don't want to suffer anymore. And Kiran Majumdar Shaw, her comments are extremely well taken.
Right. Mr. Prakash, I'll give you the last word. You want to respond to what Brijesh Kallappa said?
No, definitely Brijesh Kallappa and his party leaders are suffering without power for the last 8 years. And he has rightly expressed it. And they will suffer another 10 to 20 years without power in the center and the state. And I will let him note about it. And with regards to the other comment, this is a free country. Everyone can express their opinion. There is no bar on it.
All right. Well, it's a free country and everyone can express their opinion. No comment there at the end on what this entire row is about. Thank you, both Brijesh Kallappa and Mr. Prakash, for joining us. It's an important story. The Chief Minister, of course, has said that he's going to take serious note of objections being raised to halal meat now in Karnataka. Sharp reactions coming in from across political quarters. We'll track that story very closely.